Hello, welcome to the Lent study for Holy Week. I'll be producing a video and a study for Monday, Thursday, and Good Friday too, which may also be more like a prayer. This particular study, it really focuses on the idea that Jesus is our reconciliation. And it's a strange time in Holy Week when we consider both the Last Supper and the crucifixion. And of course, we can't tell this story without knowing that after the crucifixion comes the resurrection. So this Lent study really looks particularly at the crucifixion. Tomorrow I'll produce something looking more at the Last Supper. And then on Good Friday, we'll be looking back at the cross again. But this study also takes us into the time of when Jesus is discovered to have risen. So really, if you have your notes, I've got them here. The study starts off with reading Luke 23:32 to 49. That's the story of Jesus on the cross and really what happened there. And particularly, I think it's important to look, and I'm looking at my Bible, that's why I'm looking down. It's particularly important to look perhaps at the two criminals and how they respond to Jesus and Jesus himself, and how he dies and how that affects the people around him. So I suggest that you read that and spend some quiet time looking at that. And the study moves on to 2 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians 5:16 to 21. Quite a short bit, really, where it says at the heart of this reading, God who reconciled us to himself through Christ and has given us the ministry of reconciliation. That's at verse 5, chapter 5, verse 18. So we have been given this ministry of reconciliation. And the questions that sort of follow from that is, how does Jesus become the source of reconciliation for people in biblical times? So that's just stepping a little bit away from now and saying, what about Moses? What about Jacob? What about Sarah? What about Ruth and Naomi? How does Jesus become the source of reconciliation for those people? And there's a tradition, an Orthodox tradition, that Jesus in these times, in these days when he's in the tomb, is actually going right back to Adam and all those who followed. Actually, they often say starting with the thief on the cross, and bringing them all into the kingdom of heaven, reconciling himself to them and helping them to find a way forward, because of course for them the Christ had not yet come, so he comes for them there. And then the question, how has Jesus become the source of reconciliation for us today? So that's really a question that maybe you might be helped by this icon, which should be on your appendix. And I think it's a beautiful icon. It's Jesus and his friend. It's in the appendix, as I say. That icon maybe is something just to spend some time with. And while you do that, imagine you're beside Jesus now. And what might he say to you? Take your time on this. Do stop this video, or watch the whole video and then take your time. What would you want to ask Jesus? What do you ask Jesus about his friendship for you? What does that mean? And then, do you want to say anything to Jesus about the situations we've talked about in our Lent studies? Anything, or anything about reconciliation? Do you want to say anything to Jesus about those things? And then in your imagination, how does Jesus respond to that? It's good to approach these things prayerfully. It's like an imaginative exercise, but I guess if we were meeting together, I would try and take you through that a bit. So if you join me on the Zoom meeting, then we can go through that together. And then to share your reflections. Obviously, we've said this before, it's hard to share reflections. I don't know how we can do that, and I haven't yet got round to sorting that out. But at some point, hopefully we can start to find ways to share reflections in Bible study and so on. And I always ask this, how does this make you feel? There's a lot in there. Do take your time. Don't rush through this. And then there's an action point. What can I do, even if I feel I'm very, very limited? Maybe, I mean, at the moment in this time of coronavirus, maybe you can't go out. Maybe you're inside all the time, self-isolating. What can I do, even if I'm very limited, to be a person of reconciliation for Christ in the world? And a prayer. Jesus, risen Christ, you were there before we knew it, waiting for us to be reconciled to you. Just as you showed reconciliation to the thief on the cross, to Peter, to Mary and the women at the tomb. So you come to us at Easter, as Easter approaches, and ask us, how can I bring you my peace, my love, my life, to transform what seems to be dying into something new that blossoms with hope? I suggest on the bottom of the sheet that if you want to sing a song of resurrection, feel free to do that. Maybe you want to wait till Easter Day. That's up to you. But it'd be nice to sing maybe something. Just maybe a song that helps you to be reconciled to a neighbour or to Christ. So God bless you.